Good morning. We're here with Karen Rohlf this morning, and I'm so pleased, just tickled that you're here, and I can't wait to share your beautiful perspective on horsemanship and teaching. Karen is my mastermind mentor and author and creator of Dressage Naturally, and obviously an internationally recognized instructor who is truly changing the paradigm for equestrian education, teaching at all levels in clinics and a lot virtually through Dressage Naturally. And she's known for a priority of partnership, student empowering, which is definitely different from the traditional model. She, to me, is a huge innovator, very positive, and brings that to her teaching. I can't say enough, and I would love to have you share for people that may not know you, how you ended up embarking on this journey to bring partnership training and dressage together, because those are two worlds that kind of in the past have done this, and what you're doing is bringing it into that lovely heart.
Yeah. Oh, I love when you did that. It made a heart. Yeah. Well, first of all, Bo, thank you so much for giving me the chance to talk to you. This is my favorite subject is, horses. So I never miss a chance. I'm really happy to be able to, talk to you more about this and share it with your community. So, for me, it was kind of like this, like, here's the natural horsemanship world doing their thing, and here's the dressage world doing their thing. And they really were like parallel worlds and not connecting. I think one of the reasons that it connected so well for me is that my start in horses was very natural. Mm-hmm. So my mom had a horse, but she had like a backyard trail horse when she was a kid. And then when I was young, she got a horse and she learned English and did some fox hunting, but we just rented some space, a few acres at the end of our street. And we had to take care of the horses ourselves. So, I mean, my mom, I'm glad I survived, but my mom would just send me down there and like, yeah, you go, play until I come down. And she is the one who insisted I learned how to ride bareback before I rode in the saddle. And so I did a lot of crazy stuff out there as a kid with my horse, like bareback, bridleless, backwards, all kinds of crazy stuff.
Limitless, yes.
Yeah. So, that's how I started. It was just, I loved animals. I loved horses, and it was not serious. But, then they gave in to my begging about, she only had the horse for like a year and a half or something, and I got busy with us kids, but it just stuck with me. So long story short, I got my own horse, but I ended up quite accidentally connecting with one of the best dressage judges and trainers in the United States, who happened to live not too far away. That's a whole other story. I can get into that. But so that was what became my formal dressage training. I sold my first horse, got another horse, and that's the horse that just, went all the way up the levels and represented the United States with. And that horse to me was just this amazing special horse, because I got him as a pony club horse. I didn't get him as a dressage horse. He actually had an old bowed tendon, and he didn't pass the pre-purchase for dressage. And I said, that's okay. Who wants to do dressage? So it was really, so it was an accident that I went as far as I did in dressage. And then that horse retired. And, again, long story short, but I ended up being given a horse when the owner died. And it was a really used up dressage horse. I think, if I say that, I think people probably get the picture, like ridden in a double bridle and draw reins and spurs and 2 sticks.
Oh my gosh.
And he was a good boy, but like you could like shake a bag of carrots and he'd turn around. He would turn away from you. Wow. I mean, he just was like an inanimate object pretty much. And so when he was given to me, he became my horse, and I hadn't owned my own horse for a while, and rode him at Grand Prix. And then he started to need to retire for lameness issues. So that's when I said, I need to do something fun and silly with this horse, who now lives at a dressage training facility and he's starting to retire. Like, how boring is that? Sitting in the stall all day doing nothing.
What,
So
what was his name?
that was Vivaldi,
Vivaldi.
otherwise known as Bubba.
Oh, Bubba.
Yeah, and there's a picture of him on my about the Meet Karen page on my website if anyone wants to see him. So that's when I happened to see a little video of some guy running and his horses were following him, and then they'd stand on a pedestal. I thought, well, that's fun. Maybe I can teach my Bubba some silly horse tricks. And so I just by chance happened to go to a Pirelli clinic, which I thought was weird because it was taught by a guy named Lichman. I'm like, how is it a Pirelli clinic if it's taught by a guy named Lichman? Now I understand. And I just showed up there, and it changed my life, because what I learned in that clinic changed my whole perspective on what I was doing. And it immediately, like, the connection and the partnership that was being emphasized reminded me of when I was a kid. So in that first clinic, he's like, let's get on bridleless and bareback. I'm like, oh my God, like, this is a thing. Like, I can. And so as a professional Grand Prix dressage trainer, and now I'm riding bareback again, and I'm riding this amazing horse bareback and bridleless, and he's doing his one tempies. And I could see his expression change, and he lit up, and then he was less braced. And then I didn't have to retire him. I got 2 more years just because he was so willing and free, and the light went on. And so then, I was like, that got my attention. I thought,
so the light went on for both of you.
the light went on for both of us. And I went, oh my gosh, like, now, a little information is more dangerous than a lot. So I was like, I have to learn more about this, because the results were unmistakable and really instantly. I think because I had the background that I did, I was like, I can have it all. I can have that amazing relationship that I had with my first horses, and it's also improving my dressage training. It didn't feel like a choice. It was like, oh, do fun, silly stuff or be competitive. I was like, no. I don't have to choose. Yeah. So that's the shortest version I can give you.
That's a great version.
Yeah.
So I know that you've done a lot of traveling. You've worked with thousands and thousands of people. What would you say is the most commonly asked question? Is there one?
I don't know if there's a common question, but there's a common theme.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah. And maybe it's connected to the way the questions are asked, but am I doing this right would be the question. The theme is lack of confidence in what's going on between the person and their horse. And especially if you've come from the dressage world, but this happens even in natural horsemanship, because there's a lot of different natural horsemanship systems, right? Everybody's getting a bit different picture when I say those words, but if you try to follow any system, there's a danger that students try to become a student of the system instead of using the system to get a result. So I would see riders paralyzed going, is this the right bend? Is this the right whatever it is? And my question back to them is, how does it feel? Did your horse do what you asked? So, and that's what I really focus on. And I think that's what makes it so empowering, is like, it doesn't matter what I say it looks like if you and your horse are not connecting. And to your listeners, and maybe you've experienced this in lessons, have you ever been in a lesson, you and your horse are fighting, and your trainer goes, good, because it looks good, right? And you're like, but my horse is leaning on my hands. So a lot of times riders are trained to not value the feeling that they're getting, or for on the other end of the spectrum, sometimes the trainer can go, oh, get after him, don't let him do that, when in reality the rider did something that made the horse think he was supposed to do that. So my top priority is, what's your picture? did you ask your horse? How did he answer you? And what did you do in response to how he answered you? If he did it perfectly, did you let your horse know? And if it wasn't quite what you meant, did you follow through? So he goes, oh, I get it, next time. And to me, like so many, 90% of the problems of training come down to that. If you can get a horse and a rider connecting, then that's the whole game. Then from there, for me to say, well, could you ask your horse to go slower or faster? Or could you ask your horse to put his rear in here? Like, that's easy. So when students are focused on, is this the right bend? I could go, well, technically, yes, but no, it's not the right bend if you're having to fight for it and keep your leg on and tighten your noseband and hang on your hand. Like, no. So I think, yeah.
All of this is speaking to, and I love what you're saying, all of this is speaking to a lot of the reason why Coherence Horsemanship Institute was created, is to get people to ask why, to question the status quo. I mean, if you see everybody going along like this, then you begin to think that that's okay, until they meet somebody like you, and you say, well, how does that feel? Oh my goodness. Oh, yeah. Stop, wait, stop, big sign. Do we need to know why we're doing it in a certain way, and then be able to see that maybe there's a better way to do what we're doing? And that's really what you're saying.
Exactly.
There's so many better ways to approach what people are told to do without asking. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. And it's, if you don't know why you're doing a shoulder in, you can get your horse to technically put his body in this place, but if you don't know, you're supposed to be feeling for the engagement of the inside hind and feeling that the shoulders are getting taller and freer. You won't, it's like, yay, technically you got your horse to put his feet in that place, but you're going to miss the most important part. Yeah. So
you got the what, but not the why.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So what amazes you that people don't know?
Don't get me started. No. Well, one thing, and maybe this is related to what we were just talking about, and this, something I tell people a lot is to remember that when we say natural horsemanship, and again, it's just a word, it's a label, it's insufficient. But the natural part for me is doesn't have to, it's observing your horse in nature, but it's also the natural part of feeling what's going on between you and your horse. I think there's a disconnect, and I think in human society, we practice that.
Yes.
Oh, yes. That casserole you made tastes great. How are you? Fine.
Fine.
So, I mean, our culture practices that. And horses don't get that at all. So the natural part is this flow of feeling what's really going on. So, all right. So what was that just popped in my head, so I have to say it, but what was the next question?
I really like that. You took me on a journey and I forgot what I asked you.
Aha, my avoidance worked. No.
What it was that amazes you that people don't know. That was where we started.
Yeah, I think what amazes me that people don't know. It's a great question. I love your questions, making me think. I think, again, it comes back to the confidence that they don't know that they, even without technique, they can be understood by their horse and they can understand their horse.
Nice.
I think it's that belief again that it has to be right. And that's why, like when I teach my Habits for Excellent Horsemanship course, I start with audios of infusing these habits and these ways of thinking. Because if you can think these ways with a habit of partnership and a habit of a sense of humor and a habit of curiosity and things like that, you're going to be so much more connected with your horse than, like, I've seen people with skills technically, but they don't have that heart piece, that feel, and they're not horsemen to me, they're technicians. And I've seen people who have no technical skills or experience, but they do amazing things with their horses. Amazing. And it's like, how are they doing that? Because it's them and their horse. That's it. That's all they're thinking of, is going,
these things and this thing are connected together to the horse, for sure.
Right. They're just listening, they're observing, they're seeing the cause and effect. When I do this, this happens. When they do this, this happens. And they're letting that flow. And because I think that's the piece that I turn cartwheels trying to help people with. Teaching what a leg yield is and what a shoulder in is. And, I mean, that's, you got to practice for sure. But it's not that hard once you have this flow of believing that you can really do it. That your only thing your horse cares about is what your conversation. Doesn't matter what the instructor is saying. So to use a system to help you communicate with your horse, not just to like be a student of the system and do the tasks and end up for 10 years studying it and going, wait a minute.
Well, this is
training level. What happened?
That self-empowering the student.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess, I hope that answered the question.
Well, I think it made for great conversation, and it answered the question.
Yeah.
So then, taking that one step further, then what would be a couple of pointers that help people to connect to that listening space, and that it's really not a space of time, it's a space of feeling that you're talking about. So what would be a few things they could use as pointers for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really going to come into a mindfulness thing, number one, to drop into the moment. And maybe with the current, as we're recording this, the pandemic, everybody's had a little more time and they're not caught up in the daily commute and things like that necessarily. And it's a really good opportunity to drop in and sort of lose yourself in the feeling of the horse. And from that place, and there's all kinds of techniques. So, do guided meditations. I love guided meditations. Look up open focus meditations, because this open focus type of meditation that turns on the alpha synchronous brain waves. I mean, it's really cool. So check that out. There's a book called Open Focus that I can recommend. So that, you can just listen to a open focus meditation for 10 minutes and then just really think of it as a conversation and believe that your horse really does want to know what the heck you're talking about. Right? So they're like grazing, minding their own business, and here comes this human and we're doing stuff. And in any one moment, I always like to say this, in any one moment, I'm saying one thing to my horse at a time. So there might be other stuff going on, but in any moment, I'm only actively making one request. And it's really helpful to know what that request is. So this is a great thing I do, is like in any moment I might ask my student, what's the one sentence? What are you trying to say to your horse? And if you answer that and it's like, well, I was thinking that, last week when I had that lesson and that, and I thought, well, maybe I could, and it starts sounding like that, your horse is like, so in any one moment, you should be able to say, I need more energy. I need you to look at me. I need you to back up. Whatever it is, even in the middle of a shoulder in, I'm doing all this stuff, but I might only be saying, hey, in the shoulder in, speed up your tempo. Or in the shoulder in, now I just need a little bend adjustment. Hopefully you're not, doing 20 things at once. But even from the most basic thing, know that sentence. If your horse could miraculously understand English in this split second, and you have 5 seconds to tell them what you want, can it come out? And so many times if I watch somebody kind of struggling a little bit, I go, what's the sentence? And they're like, oh, there's this whole swirl of, am I doing it right? And I read that book yesterday and it said that the bend should look like this. And the other one said the bend, So that clarity in your mind, right? Just know what's the sentence. And I often will say that sentence out loud for myself, because, upper levels get complicated in dressage, but there's always just one thing at a time that I'm actively changing.
It's
And if
kind
there's
of that.
20 things, then I need to go do something more basic.
Well, it seems like to me another analogy too would be leaving for a destination and not knowing where you're going. And how do you get there then? What? Yeah, well, now you're talking to a living, breathing animal, and how are they supposed to understand if we're completely befuddled?
Exactly. And they're just looking at us like, what's that mean? You know, I believe they want to know. I know that they notice us, and I believe they want to know. And they, you know, my horses love praise. They love working for, you know, rewards. And if we don't make ourselves clear, then we come up and we flail around. The horse is like,
Get back
you
to
know,
me.
the nice ones are like, don't worry, mom, I'll just ignore that. You know, the tricky ones are the ones who freak out and go, oh my God, she's crazy. You know, so, but we don't want to, you know, we want to be careful of what are we teaching our horses to ignore, what's meaningful and what's meaningless. So that's another really important distinction. So
Well,
know that when you know, I think of it like when I'm talking to my horse, I go ready and I call him up and it rings and I want to see, does my horse go, hello? Yes. Oh, okay. Thank you. Or does he go, yeah, I see who that is. So be interesting. Be a great conversationalist.
well, and to do either one of those things, you have to be clear. So
Yes. Yeah. It all just comes down to that clarity and being present right here, right now. What's the thing?
so the other thing too, I wanted to add to what you said was that I think in our humanness, a lot of times when we think I'm going to be talking with somebody, we're not really listening for what they're saying. We're just thinking about the next thing we're going to say, because that might, oh, well, yeah, I'm going to think about that while you're talking, and then I totally lose track of what you're saying. And I see that happen so often too, that we lose track of the fact that there's feedback coming back for what that conversation is back and forth, not just one direction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I strongly believe, you know, that these are habits that you can practice away from your horse too. You know, so many people think, oh, you can only practice during the time I have with my horse. Like, no, these are things you can practice. So many conversations we have with each other, if you listen to other, you know, maybe not you guys listening, but other people, and you just see it's like trading stories, but nobody's really listening to each other. It doesn't go deeper. So yeah, it's that is one of the things, you know, that being present, listening, going deeper into a conversation instead of just ping-ponging back and forth, like those are all skills you can practice. One can practice at any time.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Wow, those are great. That's great tips. I know that you are doing less traveling and teaching. Is that true?
During the pandemic, for sure.
Right now, for sure.
Yeah, I'm actually sad because I have a few clinics had to have to cancel. Yeah, it the last couple years, definitely a downswing on the travel. I'm really aware of my sort of life balance, and I did a lot of traveling for a period of time, and then I just have to balance it out. So right now I just have a beautiful place and a beautiful husband and beautiful horses, and it's really hard for me to leave. Although in Florida in the summertime, that's when I tend to start hitting the road. Yeah, so the trouble is I love being home and I love traveling, so I just have to monitor myself. But yes, recently less traveling, more repeat clinics, like going to a certain areas again, you know, with a core group that
well, and I didn't want to do a segue into that. And part of that actually is a huge benefit to people globally, because now you have even more online content and courses that people can connect to. And we're going to embed your information into this interview, so it's on there. But,
awesome.
So Dressage Naturally, and it's .net, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Amazing site, amazing information, and lots and lots of learning to connect to.
Yeah. I just would go to clinics, and, you know, in the beginning, I just had the book, and then I'd leave and they're like, well, we're not going to see you till next year. And so that's when I started making, you know, the video classroom. And it was just my way to keep connecting with with students that I had taught, and then it just has grown into this huge, it's almost 400 videos in there now. I just recorded some new ones this week. I'm so excited. Yeah, we just videoed me riding each of 3 of my horses this week each day, and I just said out loud what was in my head while I was riding them, and they all went really well, so I'm super excited. Yeah, but it's my way to stay connected with everybody all over the place, and it's just been lovely to meet people from all over the world and all these crazy places and like-minded people.
I just have to say thank you too for taking your innovative thinking into the business part of the horse world, because it's so necessary. Karen has an amazing mastermind program that helps equine business people to reframe and create a new model for the equine industry. And I so support that. And I'm just thrilled to have been a part of that. It's helped me greatly. Well,
you are just the poster child for who I'm hoping to reach with that, because it really is geared toward the heart-centered horseman who's a professional, because I know that the heart-centered people like yourself, it's like sometimes the marketing part is really hard, right? Because we don't want to like, you know, go out there and be this huge ego competitive person. But I believe that it's people like you who believe what you believe and are doing what you're doing in the horse world that really, the horses need more people like you. So I'm really committed to helping the heart-centered professional thrive. And it's really for the horses. It's all for the love of the horse.
Oh, yes, all the way back to that. So I want to thank you so much for being here today and making time in your busy schedule to share your thoughts and your experiences with us. And I hope that in the future we can chat about some other really important things that I would love to talk about that have to do with soundness and horse health, things that I'm sure that you're up on because of all the horses and people.
Yeah, another one of my favorite subjects. So it's just been a pleasure talking to you. I love your questions, and yeah, it's fun.
Thank you so much, and hope you have a lovely day.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, we'll talk soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.